Hello, I'm contestant number 20 and I'm going to be talking about what it means to be a global citizen. Now, last year in April, I had a life changing experience when Jeff, one of my classmates, had a conversation with me about the prison of mind. He went ahead to explain to me that the prison of mind was actually the hardest prison to break out of, and most of us had actually been prisoners our whole lives. He also told me that a change in perspective can go a long way in improving the levels of life of human beings. It was then that I decided to get out of my comfort zone and go and explore the world and learn as much as I could and see how that would impact my life. Now, what I didn't know is that in doing this, I would have grown and become a different person. So I decided to leave and I came to the United States of America, and I must say that has been a very life changing experience. Now, I'm supposed to talk about what it means to be a global citizen, but first of all, who is a global citizen? According to me, a global citizen is basically a person who understands how the world works and their particular role in that. Because the world is like a car, and your role as the wheel, you must understand it and you must be able to perform it very well. Now, when I think about global citizenship, three things come to mind. Those three things are education, inspiration, and leadership. Now, education in this case doesn't necessarily mean degrees and college and masters and doctorates and all that. No. Education in this case simply means your ability to accept different cultures and different religions and different histories. I'm gonna give a different example. When I was growing up in Kenya, we learned a lot of history, but most of the history we learned was from our country. We learned the history of our nation and at most the African continent. We only went as much as like the worldwide occurrences such as the world wars. However, we didn't learn as much history from other countries as we should have. So we learned the effect of the influx of the West to Africa. But it wasn't until I came to the United States early this year that I actually learned firsthand the effect of the expatriation of Africans to the West. It was then that I saw how much suffering the black people are going through up to date, and it hit me that all my life I had just been worried about the problems back home, but I did not take time to think that other people all over the world were suffering as well. And therefore, there was a big change, a big difference in my way of thinking from the traveling that has happened. Now, education simply means that I am able to learn from these experiences, and after that, that leads to inspiration. Now, inspiration, I believe inspiration can be sought from anywhere, but the best place to seek inspiration is from personal experience, and that's where education and inspiration are bridged together. So, once you get inspiration from education, you learn that every single person in this world has a role to play. And this world, as everyone knows, has always been a competition. The pride and greed traits that are embedded in our human DNA that have made us the dominant species have suddenly taken the world into the perfect utopia that it should be, and it's slowly going back in days where we are still struggling to be the dominant species. And this time, the worst thing is that we're struggling against ourselves. We're not struggling against other species. We want our religion to be the best. We want our nation to be the best. We want our country to be the best. We want our tribe to be the best. And we don't want to understand that all these are human. And therefore, we end up doing bad things to each other with ignorance. Ignorance is so much because we do not want to accept that anybody else could be right and everything else is humanly acceptable. And therefore, there comes inspiration. Once you learn this, it's possible for you to see that all this is equal, and therefore we can and we should do something about this for the sake of the human race. Now, after that, the last thing is leadership. Now, leadership is a very rare trait. Not many people can be leaders, and that's why being a global citizen, according to me, is a very hard thing. Now, when I talk about leadership, I don't necessarily mean being president or politics. No, it simply means being the person who can make the tough decisions. Now, we all know one man can only do so much. So, after education and inspiration, and you know you have a role to play in this world, how are you going to impact the change? We might impact the change, but one man can only do so much. You can by default you are going to require a team, and just like any team, your team is going to have people with different views and different opinions. It is your duty to work with them and help them bridge this gap and become one person, because that's the world we're looking to that's the world we're aiming to get. That's the world we're aiming to get. And therefore, I believe with these three traits and the global citizens who accept their role in the world, we are going to live in a better world. Thank you.